So what we will discuss today in this media is something related to enclosed space or confined spaces. Okay, all the questions pertaining to this. The video gonna be little lengthy, but I will try and cover all the aspects of it, what we are following on board, permits, what are the hazards associated with it, everything we are going to cover starting from the definition. So without any further ado, we'll begin our topic. And the confined space, often when you go for your courses or when you go and for your exams or when you are on board, people are often asking you what is a confined space. So enclosed space means a space which has any of the following characteristics. So if any of the following characteristics, if any one also, okay, it is fulfilling the criteria which is listed over here, then that space will be termed as an enclosed space. Now when we speak about the first criteria, then that is limited openings for entry and exit. So we have, where we have limited openings for entry and exits, we also have inadequate ventilation. So we have what is known as your inadequate ventilation. So the ventilation is not sufficient enough to have it, is not designed for continuous work occupancy. So it is not designed for continuous work occupancy, means which has limited access, which has limited entry and exit. And even you can say here we can add after the ventilation lighting also which has not access to light. Now what are enclosed spaces on ship, and why enclosed space is such? Because there were many incidents and accidents in past which were fatal. That is the reason why this becomes very important, and people are very much cautious regarding this. So cargo spaces, DBs, that is double bottoms, fuel tanks, ballast tanks, cargo pump rooms, cargo compressor rooms, coffer dams, chain lockers, void spaces, duct keels, engine crankcases. So these are something what is known as we have spaces, examples of spaces, enclosed spaces on ship. So these are markings you must have seen: enclosed space, do not enter without permits, confined space, deadly space, work safe, oxygen content. So all these markings we must have seen. Now confined spaces can kill, never go in without a permit. So we should not go without a permit. So see, permit is not something that we are supposed to do some paperwork. What we are supposed to do is we are supposed to check all the parameters that are listed in the permit. That is important. That is the whole idea of the permit. Whatever the procedures are given, how much the ventilation has to be then, how much, till what time that permit is valid, who has to person has to accompany, what has to be the mode of communication when one is entering, what are the rescue arrangements are in place, uh, has the oxygen meter or it has been calibrated or not, or it has been checked or not. So these are the different aspects. Now if we are alert today, then we'll be alive tomorrow. That is very important. How can you determine a compartment place as an enclosed space in a ship? So we saw the criteria, so that will be easy for us to determine which spaces or which compartment can be. Okay. If you're unsure whether or not a compartment is safe to enter, you should assume that it is an enclosed space. So if you're not sure about it, assume, because nobody is going to punish you. Nobody is going to punish you for considering a space as to be enclosed space. Even in engine room, you see crankcase spaces or the scavenge spaces, oilers are entering, or when you become first engineer or second engineer, first assistant engineer or second engineer, then you are going to enter do this crankcase inspection and all those things. So consider this as to be a closed spaces, because those has got limited spaces and there are chances of slip, trips and falls as well, because it's very slippery. These are the warning signs you must have seen on ship to check for gas before entry. Now these are danger signs which are placed. You should never enter any closed space unless an enclosed space permit has been issued. Okay, until it has been issued and thoroughly all the things has been done. If you are the person you are entering, please. Now, some questionnaire that should come to your mind is that, is the space thoroughly ventilated? Ventilation is important. See, why in closed space it's fatal. The reason being is that it lacks oxygen. Now, the oxygen, this space lacks air, that is fresh air. So when we have lacking in the percentage of oxygen, then you will not be able to breathe. And when you are not able to breathe properly, you die. Has the atmosphere been tested and found safe? Is there sufficient rescue? Is the space prepared for entry? Is there sufficient rescue and resuscitation equipment available at the enclosed space entrance? Is there a suitably experienced person in attendance at the entrance? Have communication arrangements been agreed between the persons at the entrance and those entering? Is there safe access and sufficient illumination? What personal protective equipment is to be used? Are breathing apparatus available at the entrance? So these are the few aspects that we are supposed to question ourselves. Now, when we speak about it, a proper permit to work has to be filled out and checklist to be checked so as to prevent any accident which can endanger life. Never attempt to rescue a person alone from confined spaces. So we should never attempt to rescue a person alone from confined spaces. Always call for help, plan a quick rescue operation and do it with proper equipments and team efforts. So we should be able to do it with proper equipments and team efforts, these rescue operations. Okay. Now what are the PPEs that are required? You see here, those are the PPE that you see here. This is important. So when he has done that scba. List of PPEs: hard hat with the chain strip, gloves, goggles, protective eyewear, ear defenders, safe torch, foot protection, overalls, protective clothing, and ELSA, EEBD, emergency life-saving appliances or emergency breathing devices or other emergency escape breathing devices, portable oxygen gas indicators. Do not take risk. Chance takers are accident makers. So don't be a hero on ship. Okay, you have to be calm, composed, follow safe working procedure, refer to your SMS. What is there the procedure as per your company policy, that these things are important to know. Confined space. Test the space for hazardous concentrations of known harmful substances such as hydrogen sulfide, carbon monoxide, and flammable liquid or gas. Okay, so we have to check for all these things. Air monitoring. Now we have oxygen, combustible gases and vapors, toxic gases and vapors. So before entering, you see there is a long pipe that is there. That pipe is inserted and then the oxygen meter is checked. After that also a person is entering with scba and then he is checking at different places in different compartment. Okay, because there can be a pocket of gases even after doing ventilation for desired time as per your SMS, there will be pocket of gases which will be left. So we need to check at different points and locations. So follow that safe working procedure. We see oxygen 19.5% or greater than 19.5% or less than 23%, LEL 10%, CO2 35 ppm, H2S is greater than 10 ppm. Lower explosive limit. Now see, I've made a separate video on explosimeter and all those things. You can watch that video. An explosimeter is a device which is used to measure the amount of combustible gases present in a sample. When a percentage of the lower explosive limit, that is LEL, of an atmosphere is exceeded, an alarm signal on the instrument is activated. So this alarm signal is activated. The minimum concentration of a particular combustible gas or vapor necessary to support its combustion in air is defined as the lower explosive limit. Monitoring. Frequently monitor and at several depths, say as I said, every 4 feet. Now they are telling it as to be every 4 feet, but you can refer to your SMS and your procedure what is mentioned over there. Record result on permit. before work, periodically during work, and even during work break and after break. So even when one is entering, he has to have this portable gas meter, portable gas detectors, so which has a audio and visual alarm, so that if there is anything like that, if any where the concentration is not suitable for human health, then that will give audio and visual alarm, so that you have time to escape and run out of that space. Good air, poor air, and deadly air. So that is the whole idea. Always test the air at various levels to be sure that the entire space is safe. Good air near the opening does not mean there is good air at the bottom. So this we have to always remember. So we need to measure air at the bottom with that gas meter. Now you see the dangers. Now this is the correct. Without scba he entered. This is not good. One has to enter with scba, and the person accompanying beside, because that space when it is opened, that may give fumes, or that may give fatal gases. Okay, hydrogen sulfide, this is very deadly. Attendant, summon rescuers if necessary, prevent unauthorized entry, perform non-entry rescues. Attendant should not by God not perform other duties that interfere with his primary duty to monitor and protect the crew. Okay, attendant means a person who is suitably trained within the safety management system, maintains a watch over those entering the enclosed space, maintains communications with those inside the space, and initiates the emergency procedures in the event of an accident occurring. Unattended cooking means fire, so never leave cook the food items to be unattended. Duties of attendants: knows hazards that may be faced during entry, aware of possible behavioral effects of hazards exposure in unauthorized entrants, continuously maintains accurate count of authorized entrants, remains outside permit space during entry operations until relieved by another attendant. Okay, blanking, locking, and securing of equipment. So these are some safety practices that we are following on board. Even you must have seen on bunker line or cargo line these things, that it is we put a blank over there. Lotto, that is lockout, tag out. This is very important. You know, you over a period of time, people on ship, they start behaving abruptly maybe. So you may have built some of your enemies. So even if you this lockout, tag out, even some electrical officer, they remove the fuse. Even somebody tries to switch on the breaker also accidentally or by intentionally, whatever be the reason, then also it will not go. So you have to see whatever the SMS says or whatever the procedure says, that is okay, but we have to be cautious, we have to be vigilant, and we can take our own steps. We can be more strict, or we can be more proactive in our approach, so nobody is going to stop you for that. Like somebody may take out the fuse, okay, so that by accidentally also somebody switching on the breaker when you're working on an electrical equipment, then you will not be you will not have shock. Never go alone, so that is the whole idea. Confined spaces, buddy system rules in effect, so that is there. Confined space, we need to go together. So these are the equipment that is required, that is testing and monitoring equipment, ventilating equipment, communication equipment, personal protective equipment, lighting equipment, equipment needed for safe ingress and egress, emergency equipment. We'll see all these things. SCBA, that is self-contained breathing apparatus. I have made a separate video on SCBA. What are the checks that we are doing? This is a very favorite question, especially in class 4 and all. With a fully charged spare cylinders, lifeline and rescue harness, torches, stretchers, gas analyzer, oxygen meter, resuscitation equipment, means of hoisting up an incapacitated person. Example, that is stretcher. Neil Robertson stretcher is particularly that we have on board. We have harness. Okay, recovery arrangement has to be there after wearing. How we can recover, so you must have seen on your emergency escape doors, emergency escape routes, this harness system, and then recovery system is always rigged and seen. That is a requirement also. Evacuation devices, we must have these evacuation devices in place, that stretcher and all. So this is a tripod. Whenever we are entering, this tripod is kept at the mouth of or at the entrance, so that in case of an emergency we are able to pull the person. Tripod equipments available on board: explosimeter, combustible gas indicator. So these are the different. Dragger gas detector. Even you must be doing even bunkering, you must be doing H2S. You can test here for different gases. H2S, for we have separate tubes, and for benzene we have especially we are doing for benzene checks during bunkering, you must be doing. And we are recording it in a record sheet. So in procedures for bunkering, I have all in depth have covered in a separate video. You can watch that video. And how many pumps we are doing, use please, I'll not go in detail of that, but please, there is a thin sheet, we have to refer to that. The count is comes here when you pump it. Okay. Now, monitoring equipment: atmospheric hazards, carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, oxygen levels. Testing the atmosphere of the enclosed spaces, we have to test. Gas masks, so this is important. And this is the emergency resuscitation kit. Okay. Pneumatic light, we have ventilation duct tubes. This is the way that we are doing ventilation in exhaust and supply mode, either way what is required. eebd positioned in the engine room. Okay, see, these are portable fans, ventilation using hydro blowers. These are fans, portable fans. So there we have to connect this portable tank cleaning machine. We can clean it portable, especially you will find this on tankers. Okay, you see it's going inside and how it is cleaning. It's a picture over here. And now how we rescue a person on the stretcher, that is Neil Robertson stretcher. And then release of cargo vapors resulting into casualties. Okay, so we'll not see these case studies. If you want, you can just pause the video and you can read it. Okay, but what we'll do is we'll just see, open inboard hatch. Never leave anything, or in engine room never leave a plate. Safety lessons: what we learned from this incident was complacency leading to lapses in procedure, potentially dangerous spaces not being identified. Would-be rescuers acting on instinct and emotion rather than knowledge and training. Use of different MSDSs. Okay, we are using different MSDSs. See, everywhere, in every tank, every location, every chemical, every oil, everywhere. Why we are putting this MSDS? Why this is the requirement? We may be printing or there, we may changing the grade of the oil, we are not updating, sometimes we are forgetting this MSDS. Why? This is the reason why when surveyor is coming, he is checking this MSDS. This is for us, this is for our safety, this is for our good. We have to remember these things. Okay, MSDS is material safety data sheet. I have made a separate video on what are the contents of MSDS. This is a surveyor that they are asking. We should also, when we go on board, we must read once this MSDS, what are the different columns are there, what are different sections are there, and what is listed over there. Now this is the sample MSDS. Now physical properties, chemical properties, common use, and what are the hazards that are associated with it. A material safety data sheet is a technical bulletin containing detailed information about a hazardous substance. Now what are the hazards that we have? We have slips, trips and falls. While you are climbing a ladder or where when going, you may have slip, trip and fall where the surface is slippery. This is very deadly. This can lead to a serious accident, major accidents. Slips and falls can occur on a wet surface, causing injury or death to workers. Also, a wet surface will increase the likelihood for an effect of electric shock in areas where electrical circuits, equipment and tools are used. So it may result in n number of scenarios. If you are in, if you have slip, trip and fall in electrical equipment area, so then you will have electrical shock, which can be fatal, and accidentally can lead to the electrical accidents. Okay. Engulfment hazards: loose material in holds or tanks such as grain, sand, coal or similar material can engulf and suffocate a person. The loose material can crust or bridge over and break loose and may create many problems. Falling objects. Workers in confined spaces should be mindful of possibility of falling objects, particularly in spaces which have a topside opening for entry where work is being done above the worker. So wherever the work is done above the worker, so that is the reason why we are wearing helmets, and especially when the person is there and suppose he's using a spanner, and if it falls, so if you are wearing a helmet, it will save your protect your head, because the head is very crucial for our body. Noise within a confined spaces. Now see, there is a noise regulation that is coming in soon, and now there are you see, we may hear in shipping about different aspect of shipping, that persons become we earn good, we go to sail, we explore, we are a part of this maritime community, but nobody speaks about the other aspect, and the other aspect is the noise. Over a period of time, it has been observed that seafarers, they go deaf, okay, or they hear at a high pitch, high frequency. Why? Because when you're working in engine room, especially engine crew, engine room, especially the generators, they create a lot of noise, especially when now you see, I'll not name the company, but yeah, definitely we can name this Line, and there are other companies as well. They have a separate generator room where you have to close your compartment. Okay, if you have sailed on such ships, please do comment. And wherein you can close the when we are on port, so engine room becomes very noiseless, in fact very less noise. So why? Because the maximum noise that is coming out of the generator only. Noise within a confined spaces can be amplified by the design and acoustic properties of the space. Excessive noise cannot only damage hearing but can also affect communication, such as causing a shouted warning to go unheard. Okay. Lighting. Wherever possible, natural lighting should be provided in the tank during the inspection by opening all tank hatches. In general, a pocket-sized backup light should always be carried when working in confined spaces in case of loss of light. So in case we have loss of light, so that pocket light or the portable light, that will be handy. That is the reason why we are wearing this light on the head while working in engine room. The lights so arranged should be non-spark safe. So this is the other criteria on tankers when we are working. Even walkie-talkie, cameras, flash, and all these things, they have to be extreme. They have to be safe. Isolation of space, locking out electrical and mechanical devices, blanking of pipes and securing valves, disconnecting mechanical linkages on shaft-driven equipment where possible, securing mechanical moving parts within confined spaces with latches, chains, chokes, blocks, or other devices. Okay. Following precautions and procedures are to be followed for quick and effective rescue operations, supposing a victim is to be rescued from an enclosed spaces. Now, general emergency to be announced through the ship's alarm. A responsible officer to be made in charge of the operation. Adequate manpower to be present for the operation. 2 trained persons to be ready with SCBA and PPE. All prior checks to be carried out on SCBA used in the operation. I'll check. We can watch that separate video. Lifeline to be used by the entry person. Communication equipment, that is walkie-talkie, to be given to all. Now, torch lights to be taken along. Extra ready breathing apparatus to be kept standby. In charge of operation to be present at entry point coordinating the operation. Breathing apparatus to be carried by rescuing party along with stretchers for the victim. If not possible to carry SCBA, eebd to be carried instead. A lifeline to be tied out in the stretcher of the victim so that it can be guided and lifted out of the tank. Proper signs and men at work signs boards should be provided at required places so that persons should not start any equipment, machinery, or any operation in the confined space endangering life of the people that those are working. The person should carry oxygen analyzer with him inside the enclosed spaces, and it should be on all the time to monitor the oxygen content. As soon as level drops, the analyzer should sound alarm and the space should be evacuated quickly without any delay. Duty officer has to be informed before entering the enclosed space. One person always has to be kept standby to communicate with the person inside the space. No source of ignition has to be taken inside unless the master or competent officer is satisfied. The rescue and the resuscitation equipment are to be present outside the confined spaces. Rescue equipment includes breathing air apparatus and spare charge bottles. Means of hoisting an incapacitated person should be available. After finishing the work and when the person is out of the enclosed space, the after work checklist has to be filled. This is also very important. Please don't ignore it. The permit to work has to be closed after this. Procedure for entering an enclosed space. What are the procedure? Risk assessment, that is RA, to be carried out by a competent officer. As enclosed or confined space entry is deficient in oxygen, making it a potential life hazard. Now, a list of work to be done should be made for the ease of assessment. For example, if welding to be carried out or some pipe replacement, etc. Enough lighting and illumination should be present in the enclosed space before entering. Potential hazards are to be identified, such as presence of toxic gases. The confined spaces has to be well ventilated before entering. The space has to be checked for oxygen content and other content with the help of oxygen analyzer and gas detector. The oxygen content should read 20%. That is important. Precautions during entry. The atmosphere should be tested frequently while the space is occupied, and persons should be instructed to leave the space should there be deterioration in the conditions. Persons entering in closed spaces should be provided with calibrated and tested multi-gas detectors that monitor the level of oxygen, carbon monoxide and other gases as appropriate. Ventilation should continue during the period that the space is occupied, and during temporary breaks before re-entry after a break, the atmosphere should be retested. In the event of failure of the ventilation system, any person in the space should leave immediately. Particular care should be exhibited when working on pipelines and valves within the space. If conditions change during the work, increased frequency of testing of the atmosphere should be performed. Changing conditions that may occur including increasing ambient temperature, the use of oxygen fuel torches, mobile plant, work activities in the enclosed spaces that cover evolved vapors, work breaks, or if the ship is ballasted or trimmed during the work. In the event of an emergency, under no circumstances should the attending crew member enter the space before help has arrived and the situation has been evaluated. To ensure the safety of those entering the space to undertake rescue operations, only properly trained and equipped personnel should perform rescue operations in the enclosed spaces. Now the companies, they are doing these separate courses, who has to be the attendant and who has to perform these rescue operations. These are self-explanatory, that is why just I am browsing it. Prior to entry, the space must be assessed for all real and potential hazards, and the applicable permit must be completed. Eliminate all hazards prior to entry when feasible. Utilize lock, tag, verify procedures when required. Complete and record pre-entry air quality measurement. Continuously monitor the space during entry. Obtain and set up all safety equipment including air monitors, barricades and ventilation equipments. Okay, so these are the different precautions that we are supposed to take, and these are the different procedures that we are supposed to uh, undergo when we are doing this entry. So this is very important for us to know that what is an enclosed space. So in this media we have covered what is an enclosed space, what is the definition, what are the conditions that has to be met, what are the rescue equipments are there, who can enter the enclosed spaces, what are the different conditions that has to be made, what questions we are supposed to ask ourselves before entering the enclosed spaces, why MSDS becomes significant, why MSDS becomes important. These things we are also supposed to ask. What are the procedures for entry into enclosed spaces, how we fill the checklist, how we fill the permit, how we are gonna prepare the RA, and what are the hazards associated, how we are going to check the atmosphere, and what are interval we are supposed to check, and on what all levels we are supposed to take. All these broad areas in broader context we covered. Okay, I hope it is clear for you. If you're gonna have some doubts, you can comment in the comment sections. Thank you for your support for this channel, and we will grow together, and I will try and upload. My idea is not to teach you all, my idea is to bring the content under one umbrella so that it becomes handy for us to use, and for our next generations also, who gonna come fresh batches of people who will appear for MD exams. Because you may be more intelligent, and you are in fact more intelligent, so my idea is to bring what the surveyor expected answer is there, not to teach you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable time. All the very best for your future endeavors.